And just last month, we saw Elbert Guillory announce his candidacy for the state's lieutenant governor right here in Alexandria. The former state senator is running on the idea of decoupling tourism from New Orleans and selling Louisiana on a regional level. To do that, Guillory wants to invest in an upside-down T-shaped railway system. Why prioritize a rail line versus maybe other projects?
If this nation can afford to dump $100 billion into Ukraine, certainly we can spend enough money to make life better for the people of America, and particularly for the hardworking, tax-paying people of Louisiana. There's not a lack of money, there's a lack of will.
Guillory is running against incumbent Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. State House Speaker Clay Schexnayder has been rumored to run as well, but most recently rumors have also indicated he may instead run for the governor's seat.